Ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels when it comes to goals?
Mm.
Like set these big plans in January and maybe stick to them for a little while, but then December rolls around and you're scrambling to catch up.
Yeah, it's like a common trap almost, right?
Totally.
This whole annual goal setting thing.
Yeah.
We kind of think we have all the time in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then poof, it's almost over.
Right. And then we just beat ourselves up for not getting it all done.
Yep.
Well, what if the problem isn't us, but the system itself? That's the radical idea behind this book we're diving into today, The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington.
Okay.
They say traditional yearly planning actually sets us up for failure.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a fascinating premise.
Yeah.
They say this whole annualized thinking, it creates a false sense of urgency.
Okay.
You know, it's like telling yourself you've got a whole year to clean the garage.
Mm-hmm.
You might tidy up a bit here and there,
Yeah.
but chances are you'll end up cramming it all in like last minute.
Oof, that one hit a little too close to home.
I know, right?
So what do they say? Just give up on goals altogether?
Not at all. Their solution is to think smaller,
Okay.
but with way more intensity.
Right.
So like imagine the kind of laser focus you have like those last few weeks of December,
Uh-huh.
trying to wrap everything up before the new year.
Yeah.
Now picture bringing that level of intensity and drive to every single week.
Wow.
That's like the core concept of the 12-week year.
So I don't have to
It's-
set like miniature New Year's resolutions every 12 weeks.
That's where it gets really interesting. Instead of setting goals and forgetting about them for months,
Okay.
the 12-week year system encourages you to break everything down into these hyper-focused bursts of action.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like sprinting towards your goals instead of just jogging.
I can see how that would build some momentum.
Right.
But wouldn't that be exhausting, like constantly operating at that level?
It's definitely not for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
but the authors acknowledge that it's not about working harder, but about working smarter and being more intentional with your energy.
So how do we do that?
One of the key ideas is having a strong emotional connection to your goals.
So it's not just about intellectually knowing what you want, but truly feeling it.
Exactly. Think about those resolutions that just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's because we haven't connected with why we want to achieve them on a deeper level.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like wanting to lose weight just because society tells you to versus wanting it because you envision yourself like full of energy,
Right.
playing with your kids without getting winded.
Yeah, huge difference.
Right.
That's the difference between just going through the motions
Yeah.
and being truly driven by something, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why they encourage you to start by crafting a vivid vision of your ideal future.
Okay.
This isn't just about your career or anything like that. It's your relationships, your health, your hobbies, everything. They want you to paint a picture of the life you desire.
Yeah.
And that becomes the driving force behind your 12-week plans.
So it's like creating this roadmap to your dream life,
Yeah,
but breaking it down into manageable chunks.
you got it.
I like that.
And once you have that vision, then they provide this really structured planning framework.
Okay.
They're big on breaking down those big, audacious goals into actionable tactics.
Okay.
So super specific, measurable, time-bound steps that you can track week by week.
Okay. So it's about making those big goals feel less daunting
Yeah,
by breaking them down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
exactly. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
I love that.
Right. And to keep you on track, they introduced this really unique tool called the weekly scorecard.
What's a weekly scorecard?
It's a way to measure your execution on those tactics
Yep.
and hold yourself accountable.
Gotcha.
So imagine giving yourself a grade each week based on how well you followed through on your planned actions.
So it's a way to like stay honest with yourself.
Yeah. It's simple but powerful.
I like it.
A way to track your progress.
That's brilliant. It's like having a built-in system for course correction.
Right.
Instead of waiting until the end of the year, you're constantly checking in,
Exactly.
making adjustments,
It's about taking ownership, being proactive.
and not just reactive.
Exactly. And you know, one of the things I find really refreshing about this book
Yeah.
is they acknowledge that life isn't just about work, work, work.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
They talk about the importance of balance across different areas of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I know is something you're passionate about too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all about that holistic approach, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes balance feels like this elusive unicorn that I can never quite catch.
I hear ya.
Do they have any like practical advice on how to actually achieve it?
They actually propose this really interesting concept called intentional imbalance.
Intentional imbalance. That sounds kind of counterintuitive.
I know, right.
Yeah.
But their point is that trying to be perfectly balanced across all areas all the time it's unrealistic.
It's not going to happen.
And frankly, unsustainable.
Right.
Instead, they advocate for focusing on specific areas for a given 12-week period.
So like strategically shifting your focus depending on what's most important at the time.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging we can't do it all, at least not all at the same time.
Right.
And that's okay.
Totally.
So let's say you're launching a new business.
Okay.
It might mean temporarily scaling back on your social life or putting that new hobby on hold.
Sure.
The key is to be deliberate and intentional about those choices,
Yeah.
knowing that it's just for a limited time.
I like that it's about giving yourself permission to focus on what truly matters.
Yeah.
Without feeling guilty about the other stuff.
Exactly. It's about understanding your capacity and making choices that align with your values
I like
and
that.
your priorities.
This is all starting to sound really empowering.
Right.
But one thing I'm curious about is this whole concept of accountability.
Yeah.
I hear that word thrown around a lot, but I'm not always sure what it truly means in practice.
That's a great point, and the authors actually dive deep into that very question.
Okay.
They debunk this common misconception about accountability,
Okay.
that it's about holding other people accountable.
Wait, so we're not supposed to hold others accountable?
They argue that true accountability is all about self-accountability.
Hmm.
It's about taking full ownership of our commitments and actions
Okay.
rather than blaming others or making excuses when things don't go as planned.
Wow. So it's less about pointing fingers and more about looking inward.
You got it.
Yeah.
They believe that when we focus on making and keeping commitments to ourselves, we build integrity and self-trust,
Oh, okay.
which ultimately leads to greater success in all areas of life.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
So, okay, I'm starting to see how all of this ties together.
Right.
It's not just about checking boxes and getting things done. It's about approaching our goals with a certain mindset and level of intentionality.
Exactly. And you mentioned another great concept earlier that I'd love to explore further. Greatness in the moment.
Yes. What exactly does that mean?
Well, they suggest we often get caught up in this idea that greatness is like some far-off achievement.
Yeah.
Something we attain once we reach a certain goal or milestone.
Right. It's like we're always striving for that someday when we'll finally feel successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if greatness isn't about the destination, but the journey itself? That's the essence of greatness in the moment.
Right.
It's about recognizing that every choice, every action, every moment has the potential to be great.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect time, or the perfect condition, but about making the most of each moment as it comes.
Precisely. Think about those athletes who achieve greatness.
Yeah.
It's not because they have some magical talent.
Right.
They show up and do the work day after day, even when it's hard, even when they don't feel like it.
Yeah.
They understand that greatness is cultivated through consistent effort and intentionality.
It's so inspiring.
It is.
It's about bringing that same level of dedication and intentionality to all areas of our lives, not just, physical performance.
Exactly. It's about recognizing we have the power to create greatness in our lives. One choice, one action, one moment at a time.
I love that. This is really resonating with me.
Good.
It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and lose sight of what truly matters.
Right.
But this idea of greatness in the moment, it's a powerful reminder to slow down, be present, and make choices that align with our values and our vision for the future.
And it's closely tied to that principle of self-accountability we talked about. When we take full ownership of our choices and actions, we empower ourselves to create the results we want, both in the short term and in the long run.
So it's not about blaming others or making excuses when things go wrong.
Exactly.
It's about looking inward and taking responsibility for our own successes and failures.
You got it.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Good.
It's not just a time management system. It's like a philosophy.
It is a philosophy.
A way of approaching life with intentionality and purpose.
One of the things I find most inspiring about this book is that it's ultimately a message of empowerment. It reminds us that we have the power to create the lives we want. One choice, one action, 1 week at a time.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
It's about taking back control and realizing we're not victims of our circumstances.
Uh-huh.
We have the power to shape our own destinies.
Absolutely.
I think that's something we all need to hear.
We do.
Especially, in a world that can often feel overwhelming and out of our control.
For sure.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired to ditch those old goal-setting habits.
Me too.
And embrace the 12-week year.
It's a powerful system.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to achieve more, be more.
Mm,
Live a life that's truly aligned with their values
totally.
and aspirations.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already,
We have.
but I think this is the perfect place to pause.
Okay.
We'll dive into the nitty-gritty of the 12-week year system in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and really dive into the practical side
Okay.
of this 12-week year.
Let's do it.
You mentioned there were 5 key disciplines.
Uh-huh.
Where do we even begin?
So the first discipline, and arguably the most important one, is vision.
Okay.
Remember that vivid picture of your ideal future?
Yeah.
That's where it all starts.
Okay.
They emphasize that your vision, it should encompass all areas of your life. Your relationships, your health, finances, spiritual, everything that matters to you.
Right. It's not just about setting career goals.
Right.
It's about creating that holistic vision for your life.
Exactly. And once you have that vision clearly defined,
Yeah.
the next step is to connect it to your work objectives.
Okay.
So think about how your job or your business can support the life you envision.
All right.
So if your vision includes spending more time with your family, maybe your work objectives involve creating a more flexible schedule
Okay.
or building a business that allows you to work remotely.
Right. So it's about aligning your actions with your values,
Yes.
both personally and professionally.
Now, once you've established that connection between your vision and your work,
Okay.
you're ready to set a 12-week goal
Okay.
that supports both.
All right.
They emphasize that this goal should be like a realistic stretch.
Okay.
So challenging but achievable within that 12-week time frame.
So finding that sweet spot between, ambition and what you can actually get done.
Exactly. If the goal is too easy, you won't be motivated.
Right.
But if it's too far out of reach, you'll get discouraged.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the key is to set a goal that excites you,
Uh-huh.
pushes you outside your comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
but that you genuinely believe you can accomplish within 12 weeks.
Okay, so let's say we've got our vision. We've set our 12-week goal.
Okay.
What's next? How do we actually, create the plan to get there?
That's where the second discipline comes in, planning.
Okay.
They recommend starting by just brainstorming all the possible actions you could take to reach your goal.
Okay.
Don't hold back at this point. Just get everything down on paper.
So it's like a big brain dump.
Exactly. Once you have a comprehensive list,
Yeah.
then you prioritize.
Okay.
Focus on the critical few actions that'll have the biggest impact.
So it's not about doing everything. It's
Yeah.
about doing the right things.
Exactly. And this is where those tactics come in.
Right. The specific, measurable, time-bound actions.
Exactly. When you're defining your tactics, be as specific as possible.
Okay.
So instead of saying improve social media presence,
Right.
a tactic might be post on LinkedIn 3 times a week.
Okay.
Or engage with 10 industry influencers on Twitter each day.
Okay, so it's really about moving beyond those vague intentions.
Yes.
And getting laser focused
Yes.
on the actions that will actually move the needle.
And once you have your tactics clearly defined,
Yeah.
you need to schedule them into your week.
Okay.
And this is where that model week concept comes into play.
Right. Proactively designing your week.
Exactly.
Making sure there's time for those activities that matter.
Exactly. Block out specific times
Okay.
for strategic work, those high-value activities
Uh-huh.
that directly contribute to your goal,
Right.
as well as like buffer blocks
Yeah.
for those less important but unavoidable tasks
Oh, yeah.
that always seem to pop up.
So it's like creating a roadmap for your week
You got it.
and making sure your time and energy are going to the right places.
Now, once you have your plan in place,
Okay.
the third discipline kicks in, process control.
Process control. Okay.
This is all about establishing routines and structures to support your plan
Okay.
and keep you on track.
So are we talking about the strategic blocks we mentioned?
That's part of it.
Okay.
But it's also about creating systems and habits that minimize distractions and make it easier to stay focused.
Okay.
The authors have this great saying,
What is it?
everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Ouch. Yeah, I get it.
Right. Life happens.
Yeah.
Unexpected things come up.
Yep.
Sometimes our best laid plans just go out the window.
Totally.
So process control is about building resilience into your system,
Okay.
making sure you can roll with the punches
Yeah.
and still stay on track even when things get chaotic.
So having a backup plan for your backup plan.
You could say that it's about anticipating potential obstacles,
Right.
creating strategies to overcome them.
Okay.
It's also about building in those buffer blocks to give yourself some wiggle room. Yeah. When things inevitably don't go according to plan.
I love that. It takes the pressure off.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, you just got to be flexible.
And speaking of checking in and making adjustments,
Yes.
that brings us to the fourth discipline, measurement.
This is where things start to get real.
Yeah, it's about honestly assessing our progress and figuring out where we need to course correct.
Exactly. The authors are big on this idea that measurement drives execution.
Okay.
It's about holding yourself accountable by tracking your progress toward your goals and making adjustments as needed.
And this is where that weekly scorecard comes in, right?
Exactly. That's a key tool for measurement.
That system of giving yourself a grade each week based on how well you stuck to your plan.
And in addition to tracking your actions, they also emphasize the importance of tracking both lid and lag indicators.
Okay, remind me, what's the difference between those again?
So lag indicators are those ultimate outcomes you're striving for, like the amount of weight you want to lose or the revenue you want to generate.
Right.
Lead indicators are the actions that drive those results.
Okay.
So in the weight loss example, a lead indicator might be the number of times you work out.
Right.
Or the number of healthy meals you eat.
Okay, so lead indicators are the things you have direct control over.
Yes.
The daily habits that contribute to those bigger goals.
Exactly. And the authors stress that tracking those lead indicators. It's crucial because they're the best predictor of whether or not you'll achieve your ultimate goals.
It's like checking the map regularly.
Yes.
To make sure you're still on course.
Exactly.
Instead of waiting till you reach your destination and realizing you took a wrong turn.
Now, all of this planning action and measurement, it wouldn't be possible without the fifth and final discipline.
Okay, with that?
Time use.
Time use.
The authors have a great line. If you are not in control of your time, then you are not in control of your results.
Mic drop. That is so true.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of daily demands and let our time just slip away.
Absolutely.
That's why they emphasize the importance of intentional time management.
Okay. I'm all ears. How do we do that?
One of the most powerful tools they offer is that concept of a model week.
Right. Being proactive with our time.
Exactly. And they recommend actually blocking out time for specific activities, including those strategic blocks for your most important work.
Right.
Buffer blocks for unexpected tasks. Even time for breaks and rejuvenation.
Okay, so we're not just reacting to whatever comes up each day.
Right.
We're actually designing our week.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's about treating your time like the valuable resource it is.
Yes.
And this is where that weekly routine becomes essential.
Okay.
Remember those 3 key steps. Score your week, plan the upcoming week, and participate in a weekly accountability meeting.
Right. So it's this continuous cycle of planning, execution, measuring, and adjusting.
Exactly. It's like a built-in system for staying on track and making progress week after week.
And speaking of support and accountability.
Yes.
Let's talk more about those weekly accountability meetings.
Yeah.
Or WHAMs, as the authors call them.
WHAMs.
That's where we get to like tap into the power of community and support each other. But I got to be honest, I've always struggled with accountability partners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, either I feel like I'm burdening them with my problems, or I just end up complaining and not actually taking action.
I hear ya.
Do they have any tips for making these WHAMs actually effective?
They do. First, they recommend forming a small group of peers.
Okay.
Ideally, 3 to 5 people who are also committed to personal and professional growth.
All right, so find people who are supportive but also willing to push you.
Yes. It's not just about venting and commiserating.
Okay.
It's about having a group of people who will challenge you to be your best self.
I like that.
And they provide a specific structure for these meetings.
Okay.
Making sure everyone gets a chance to share their wins. Identify areas where they need help and receive encouragement from the group.
I love that we're celebrating wins no matter how small.
Exactly. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to acknowledge our progress, but celebrating our wins, even the small ones, helps us stay motivated. It reinforces that we're moving in the right direction.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop.
Exactly, where your successes fuel your motivation and drive you forward.
No, I know all of this might sound a bit overwhelming at first.
I know it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is.
It requires a significant shift in mindset and habits.
What if I try to implement all of this and I just fall flat on my face?
Well, that's a valid concern, and the authors acknowledge that change is hard.
Yeah, it is.
They dedicate a whole chapter to the emotional cycle of change.
Oh, wow.
Explaining that it's natural to experience resistance, doubt, even setbacks along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
The key is to anticipate those challenges.
Okay.
And develop strategies for overcoming them.
So it's not about avoiding the bumps in the road.
Right.
It's about learning how to navigate them.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do that is to have a strong support system. And that's where those WAMs can be so powerful.
Right.
They provide a safe space to share your struggles,
Yeah.
get feedback from others, and receive encouragement when you need it most.
Knowing you're not alone
Right.
can make all the difference.
And in addition to having that supportive community,
Yeah.
the authors offer some great tips for staying motivated
Okay.
when you inevitably hit those challenging moments.
Right.
They emphasize the importance of connecting with your vision regularly,
Okay.
visualizing your ideal future, reminding yourself why you're doing this in the first place.
Right. So it's like you're creating that positive feedback loop
Yeah.
where your vision fuels your actions and your actions bring you closer to your vision.
Exactly. And they also talk about the power of self-talk.
Oh, yeah.
They encourage you to be mindful of the stories you're telling yourself and challenge any negative thoughts that might be holding you back.
So instead of saying, I can't do this,
Yeah.
we're replacing those thoughts with, I am capable.
Oh,
I am committed. I am making progress.
exactly. It's about shifting our mindset
Yeah.
to one of empowerment and possibility.
I like that. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. The 12-week year isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up consistently, taking action even when it's hard,
Right.
and making adjustments along the way.
Okay. I'm feeling a lot more confident about giving this a try.
Good.
It's starting to feel less overwhelming
Yeah.
and more like, a roadmap for achieving my goals.
Right.
But I have to ask, what about after the 12 weeks are up?
Okay.
What happens then? Do we just rinse and repeat?
That's a great question, and it leads us perfectly into the final piece of the 12-week year puzzle, the 13th week.
The 13th week.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah?
What's so special about it?
Well, the authors dedicate this entire week to review and reflection.
Oh, okay.
It's a time to step back, assess your progress over the past 12 weeks, celebrate your wins,
Yeah.
and identify areas where you can improve.
So it's not just about reaching the goal and stopping.
Right.
It's about taking time to integrate those lessons learned
Exactly.
and setting yourself up for even greater success in the next cycle.
You got it. The 13th week is crucial.
Okay.
It's about closing out one 12-week cycle and setting the stage for the next.
I can see how that creates a sense of continuity and momentum.
Right. It's not about achieving one goal and calling it quits.
Right.
It's about creating a sustainable system for continuous growth
Yeah.
and improvement.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
I think it's time to take a little break and let our listeners absorb all this.
It's good.
We'll be back in just a moment for the final part of our deep dive into the 12-week year. All right, so we've covered a ton in our deep dive on the 12-week year.
We have.
We've talked about the core principles, the 5 key disciplines, even the importance of that 13th week for reflection.
Right.
But there's this one concept that just keeps coming up
Yeah.
that I think we need to explore a little bit deeper.
You're talking about greatness in the moment, aren't you?
Yes. I think it's really at the heart of why this whole system works.
It is.
It's power.
It's more than just time management. It's like a philosophy.
Right. A way of approaching life.
Yeah, huh? With intention.
Just remind us again, what exactly do they mean by greatness in the moment?
Well, they say we often think that greatness is something we'll achieve in the future once we reach a certain goal.
Right. Someday,
Yeah.
I'll be happy
Right, exactly.
when I achieve that thing.
We put off our happiness and fulfillment thinking someday everything will be perfect.
Yeah, we're always chasing that someday instead of embracing what's right in front of us.
Exactly. But they challenge that whole mindset.
Okay.
They say greatness isn't about the destination, it's about the journey.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that every single choice, every action, every moment can be great.
So we're not waiting for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. We're making the most of right now.
Exactly. Think about those athletes who achieve extraordinary things.
Yeah.
It's not magic.
Right.
It's showing up and doing the work day after day, even when it's hard, even when they don't feel like it.
Wow, yeah.
They understand that greatness comes from consistent effort, discipline, and commitment to excellence.
in every single moment.
Yes.
So we're bringing that same level of intentionality to everything we do.
In all areas of our lives, exactly.
I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Right.
But this idea of greatness in the moment is such a good reminder to slow down, be present, make choices that really matter.
And it's tied to that self-accountability we talked about.
Right.
When we own our choices and actions,
Yeah.
we can create the results we want.
Both now and in the future.
Exactly.
So no more blaming others, no more excuses.
Right.
We're looking inward.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for our wins and our losses.
And that's where the 12-week year can be so powerful. It gives you that framework for making those choices, taking action and being accountable.
I'm seeing how all these pieces fit together now.
Good.
It's more than just managing your time.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
It's a philosophy.
A way to live with intention.
Yeah, and you know what I find really inspiring about this book?
What's that?
It's that message of empowerment.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds us that we have the power to create the life we want. One choice, one action, 1 week at a time.
That is so powerful, especially in a world that can feel so out of control sometimes.
It is.
It's like taking back control.
Yes.
Realizing that we're not just, victims of our circumstances.
We get to write our own story.
We have the power to shape our own destinies.
That's right.
I'm feeling really inspired to ditch those old goal-setting habits.
Me too.
And embrace this 12-week year approach.
It's a game changer.
So what's our final takeaway for everyone listening today?
I want everyone to know this. You have the power to create a life you love. The 12-week year is just a tool to help you get there.
I love that. So to all our listeners, we challenge you to ditch the old way of doing things.
Yes.
Embrace this 12-week year.
Yeah.
Start creating a life that really lights you up.
And remember, greatness isn't out there in the future.
Right.
It's right here, right now, in the choices you make every day.
So go out there and make those choices.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.